about 9 years ago to the day almost when I presented here for Concrete Jungle, which is an organization I started to pick fruit that grows all around the city and donate it to local homeless shelters and food banks. This is us in our first year. We donated all of 715 pounds, and you can see that was us with our friends. Here's us last year. We've got paid staff. We donated over 25,000 pounds of food that was harvested and grown just for Atlanta's Hungry. We're coming out with a cookbook. We're hosting a conference. We actually partnered with Second Helpings starting last year. And a few years ago, we had a project with the U.S. Forest Service to survey what fruit trees were in these 5 Atlanta neighborhoods as part of a food security study they were doing. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to go bike every one of the roads in this neighborhood and see what there is. And the fruit trees were actually the least interesting part of it because I'd never been in these neighborhoods. I didn't know anything about them. And they were full of super cool stuff, like the Herndon House. It was this cool old mansion owned by Atlanta's first black millionaire. It's next to an out-of-business university. There's just all sorts of really interesting stuff there that you never see. And Atlanta is a really segregated, isolated city. It's easy to stay in your bubble. It's kind of hard to see this here, but this is from the 2010 census. And there's this line kind of along here where south of it is most of Atlanta's black population and north of it is most of Atlanta's white population. So I want to go see places I don't normally see. And as part of doing that on a regular basis, I need to build routes. So unlike Google Maps, where you want to get from point A to point B, I want to go everywhere inside of an area. And this involves solving some different problems that go back to this famous problem called the 7 Bridges of Königsberg. And in Königsberg, there are 7 bridges outlined in green, and people wanted to know, can you cross each bridge once and only once? And it turns out it cannot be done. And so there's a more useful variant of this problem, known as the Chinese postman problem, which is all right, you have to cross some stuff more than once. How do you minimize your duplication? You're a mailman, you have to deliver mail to a neighborhood. How do you, prevent backtracking and double crossing and everything like that as much as possible? So I made some software to solve this, and it comes up with these really awesome, crazy routes that no human would ever do. So you come up here, and then you go up there, and then you come down here, then you curl around here, and then you go over here, come down there, go down there, come back up there, go over there, do this. It's really fun to ride these things because you're just following these weird computer instructions, and it's telling you how to go see your city. So we've done 9 rides so far. This is approximately 5% of the perimeter. We're trying to do a different quadrant each time and see different things. And what's weird is when you live in Atlanta and you live in a certain place, you're used to your area, and you think that's the cool place to be. But there's lots of really normal, interesting, cool places everywhere. And that's sort of the most surprising thing is on these rides you just see, yeah, this looks normal. This looks nice. This is on our Halloween ride. Someone had dressed up their dog gargoyle to be like a mummy dog. Sometimes the roads on our routes don't exist anymore. This is supposed to be a road called Florida Avenue. It is now just a kudzu path, and we sort of had to ask the neighbor, can we go there? Does this exist? And he's like, yeah, people go through it all the time. The other thing that we see a lot of that's really cool is lots of cool old history stuff. Our first ride went on Peyton Road, and in the 60s, there was a barrier erected on Peyton Road just to keep black people from moving into the city. This is insane, and it's 3 miles from here. And that sort of stuff is just all over Atlanta. In northwest Atlanta, there's the Chattahoochee Brick Plant. This was owned by John English, one of the early mayors of Atlanta. We have English Avenue is named after him. He was a notorious abuser of the convict leasing program, which is basically the reincarnation of slavery after emancipation. And so people would be arrested on silly charges, and then they just get loaned out to corporations for whatever they want. And so this place, it still exists. You can go there. They said back when it was operating, you couldn't go within a quarter mile of it and not hear screams from people being beaten. It's just insane that this is there. This is a cage in Inman Park. If you were arrested, they would place you in this cage and lock you in there and then return with a horse carriage so that they could actually transport you to jail. So there's just so much cool stuff, like kind of hidden in plain sight all around the city. And I want to encourage people to bike around and explore the city. So I'm trying to turn it into a bit of a game. I've made this site, allofitp.xyz. You can link your Strava account to it, and it'll tell you what percentage you've ridden, where you've ridden, what neighborhoods you've ridden. And once you know this number, you want to make this number go up. And so I've got a leaderboard, and of course, everyone's becoming super competitive about it. We have multiple people that have ridden over 33%, which is 1,000-ish miles of unique roads inside the perimeter. And yeah, people are getting really into it. It's fun, like even just coming here tonight, like I was like, oh yeah, I got a route in mind. Like we got to get on 4th Street. I haven't been down 4th Street. And so that's the other thing, is that I have all this riding data, and I'm now generating routes for people. Like you could take the blue route, but you've already ridden 80% of that. So you should probably take the red route instead and see a little bit different. So come ride with us. Our next ride is March 4th. You get a custom ink stamp on each ride, or you can do it on your own and connect your Strava account. But yeah, come explore the city. Join us. We'd love to have you.